Hello again. Welcome back to Sports and Shorts of Sorts. The podcast's so nice, I had to do it twice. Well, thanks again for listening in. I appreciate you all listening to the first one or watching on YouTube. It's cool to kind of have it out there on Spotify and on YouTube on the page. Trying to sit a little straighter up today. I got contacted by Hunchback Weekly. They wanted me to be in the Quasimodo shoot next week, but had to decline. I'm gonna work on setting up a little better here, see what we can do. But anyway, thanks for coming out again. Episode 2. Just like episode 1, I thought we'd start with the jerseys again, right? With 1, we had some cool ones. With number 2, first number 2 you think of, Derek Jeter, right? The Yankees, legendary number 2. If I had a hat, I'd do my little tip just as he does. Won World Series with them. He's a legend. He'd leave baskets with the women he got with after, like a true gentleman, I guess. You know, as the tabloid said in New York, he was, quite a gent. And like I said, I am in Canada, in Saskatchewan, but we still like the Raptors up here. And number 2, you think Kawhi Leonard, he helped bring the one and only title to the Raptors with the ball that bounced on the rim, bounced a little more, then dropped. Yeah, and the one that broke Philly's heart, but was amazing. No, they're number 2s. Yeah, basketball, you're sticking with that. I think of Mitch Richmond, Alex English. Not a lot of people know those guys, but they're legit scorers. And yeah, they just didn't get a lot of fanfare, I guess. But 2 amazing, amazing scorers. Sticking with basketball, I guess Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, number 2. I want one of his jerseys. Never thought I'd want an OKC Thunder jersey, but he dropped 40 today against the Suns in a win. So that's pretty sweet. Hockey, you got Brian Leach. When I think of playing like those old school NHL games on Super Nintendo, and you be the Rangers, you had Brian Leach there. That's the number 2 I think of. Other than that, NFL, Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. Unfortunately, he had a bad year. He's cut. I don't know if he's going to get picked up. Doug Flutie, he's a pretty big number 2. Everywhere, you know, down the States with the Bills, he had his run, his Boston College run. Up here in Canada, he had his run. Yeah, so those were some pretty good 2s. I had to drop. Oop, not like that, I guess. But with week 1, we started this whole thing with March Madness, and we're obviously gonna have to start there again because it's been nuts. The upsets. Purdue, I come on here talking like I know my stuff. I know sports, picking Purdue to win it. Look at they're done. Yeah, Fairleigh Dickinson fairly beat them. Yeah. Unfortunately, the little run for FDU ended tonight. That's why I'm doing this a little later tonight. I had to get some of these games in, these Sunday games, and yeah, the run for FDU ends against Florida Athletic. But yeah, another one that jumped out was Arizona. Didn't see them taking it to, or getting taken to by Princeton, and then Princeton winning again, and 15 in the Sweet 16. It's just, we're in crazy times right now. So yeah, I don't know how everyone else's bracket's doing. Mine's got more red X's than my biology papers. Like it's not looking too good there. But like, just even checking out a few things here that I found, like on the women's side, you know, South Carolina's still taking their thing. As I came to recording though, like Ole Miss is up on Stanford, which is pretty big. Pretty big. I don't know if that's going to actually end that way, but I could see it happening. And that would kind of ruin, you know, my women's bracket a bit. It's still looking good, but that one would mess me up a bit. And again, the women's bracket, Caitlin Clark. Holy Jesus, did she light it up today? That was cool to watch with Iowa. Like, I don't know, it was something else. I expected her to go up against Florida State. Georgia looked good. They had some dog, as they say, with the Bulldogs, but yeah, it was good. Just March Madness, it was good. Thursday to Sunday, you know, good games galore. Like even the play-in, those first 4 games were pretty entertaining, but the whole thing's good, except the bracket, except bets, unless you called one of these bets. If you picked that 16 over a 1, oh man, you're buying dinner, I guess, because, oh, that's something else, I tell you. And like, I don't know, just checking the brackets, it's crazy, but that's why we watch, right? We watch all that, and like, The thing though with the scheduling today, like you had so much going on. What game was that I was watching? I was watching the part of the Kansas State Kentucky game, and during this game, you had Inter Milan and Juventus. You have Stade de Reims in Marseille, and a little later you had the El Clasico. All at the same time, all this soccer madness. And like pretty important games. And like how are you gonna pay attention to all of that? I know it's just the madness. It spreads everywhere. I know we have an international break coming up for footy after this weekend, I guess. So going forward, there'll be an international break for footy, and yeah, we'll split that up a bit. But in the EPL, there was some wild stuff. Arsenal kept their foot on the pedal, staying top of the league. Man City obviously didn't play this weekend because there were some FA Cup ties going on. They destroyed Burnley. Burnley's the top team in the championship, hoping. I think they will, but hoping to get promoted to the Premier League. And Man City just gave them a taste of what they might experience when they do. Other FA Cup ties were Man U beating Fulham in just what turned into a ridiculous event where the ref was giving red cards out like it was Oprah giving stuff out from under the chair. It just escalated real quick. Suddenly Fulham was three red cards, boom, just like that. Brighton beat up on Grimsby Town. That was a pretty big one. But thinking about Grimsby Town, like that whole thing is crazy. Like I don't know if everyone's familiar with the National League, but it's like the very bottom league in England. It's below the Football League. I I've only learned a bit about it watching that Welcome to Wrexham with Rob McElhenney and oh geez, why am I Ryan Reynolds? Yeah, I've already talked about this, but watching that show on Disney is something else. You learn so much about it. This is like an abyss. You don't want to drop down to this league, and you have to win your way out. So I'm even giving you a quick National League drop today. Wrexham won their game this weekend. Notts County drew, which I guess where would that leave Wrexham 3 points ahead with a game in hand. Still games remaining, but to have Wrexham get promoted probably will make for good TV on Disney Plus as well. But yeah, back to the EPL. Two London clubs where they were hoping for some big wins, but ended in a draw. Tottenham blew it late. Those Spurs fans not happy with that. And that was the Southampton of all teams, giving up a penalty in extra time in the added time. And then Chelsea thought they'd get a win over Everton, who's been struggling, but they gave up a late goal to Ellis Sims, only his seventh appearance in the Premier League, and he scored a goal. So that was pretty cool to tie. I'm not a big Chelsea guy. Everybody is, but yeah, not big on Chelsea. But earlier in the week, before this crazy weekend, there was Champions League, just finishing up the round of 16, and they weren't really close, these games, because the first games they collect them on aggregate, so it's a collection of the two games you play. And a lot of these first ties were pretty big blowouts. So like I don't know, Real Madrid being up 5-2, playing Liverpool, no one really cared. Real Madrid was probably thinking about the El Clasico today, which they probably should have thought about a little more. As Barcelona won a late one, that was another wild one. Like I said, this is crazy. Like at the new camp as well, in front of that home Catalan crowd for the Barcelona people, just oh, something else. I would love to see that stadium one day. Other to round it off, Napoli. They knocked off Eintracht Frankfurt. Manchester City. They had a close tie going in until like Erling Haaland dropped 5 goals. He dropped 3 today. He dropped 5 in this Champions League. So 8 goals his last 2 games. This Norwegian guy he's the man. He looks a little different, but he's a goal scoring machine. And then what was the last game on there? I guess Inter Milan and Porto. You had the Portuguese team coming in there, and Inter Milan ended up taking them out. So there's some, yeah, just games galore. Like Champions League, like I said, you had the English Premier League blowing up. I haven't even been watching much NBA because I've been fascinated with all this freaking college stuff. And like, what am I doing? I thought Kennesaw State, a very low seed. I thought they'd beat the Musketeers of Xavier, but they're doing their thing. All for one, one for all. They're in the Sweet 16 now. The whole Big East is just just looking pretty good. You come in, you do some research, you watch some tournaments, you think you got this, you think you know something, you don't, you don't. But then at least you see like after Friday there were no good brackets left. Everybody lost it. No perfect ones yet. So it makes you feel a little better, but overall you're like, man, that's a kick in the pants. I was talking up my game at work about my picks, so yeah, I'll be eating crow when I walk in there tomorrow for work. But the only other games I like the Gonzaga, like I said, Gonzaga, TCU is still on, and Ole Miss and Stanford in the women's bracket. But I won't probably get to those by the end of this. And the other thing I got to mention too, the F1 had their race today in Jeddah. I believe that's how you say it in Saudi Arabia. It was interesting because Charles Leclerc in qualifying, wherever he qualified, had to go 10 positions back from a penalty he received. And then in qualifying in Q2, Max Verstappen had an issue with his drivetrain. So he had to start in 15th. So it was a pretty wild race. It's typical stuff on they say it is the fastest street circuit in the world, the Saudi Arabian GP. And yeah, Red Bull did their thing. Perez, he won his race. Verstappen got second, so they get another one too. Alonso, again, on the podium, except wait, he received a penalty earlier in the race because he didn't line up properly. He was a little off, little stingy rule there, but he was a little off, so he had to go to the pit. On his first pit, he had to take a 5-second penalty, so they weren't allowed to touch the car for 5 seconds. Hands up. But I guess one guy jacked a little quickly. We've all been there. Jacked a little quickly there, and 5 second, and that caused another 10-second penalty. So he finished the race in third. He's thinking he's got podium. And then this 10-second penalty drops him to fourth. Georgie boy, George Russell, Mercedes flies up there. So the two Red Bull and the Mercedes on the podium. So yeah, that's F1. I'm telling you, it's a fun thing to watch, and it's all the Netflix show kind of kicked it back in there. So it was good. A lot of good battles all over the track. McLaren still stunk it up. Lando Norris, I of course started cheering for him last year. He's kind of got the Rennie curse he's been dropping, but those were big. There was even NASCAR on today. I didn't catch any of it, but I heard Joey Logano outdueled Brad Keselowski late. Took that, and what was it? They always have fun names. The Ambetter Health 400, Atlanta Motor Speedway. So yeah, it was a very, very sport-filled day. So if you were in front of a TV watching it, or if you were outside playing something, I think it was a pretty nice day too. So I don't know, but yeah, like I said, I lost on some bets, some brackets. You win some, you lose some. Like Ryan Trailer Park Boys. The way she goes, right? But yeah, I was reading that they were saying these wagers on March Madness, like Vegas is Nevada sports books, but mostly Vegas. They're looking to take in 361.8 million in wagers for this, which is just crazy. I didn't go that crazy, but I went a little bit, and then it just made me think like Vegas is unreal. It's unlike anything you've ever been. I've only been twice. Once when I was, I don't know, like 5 years old, I think we went little road trip, and I don't remember. I remember crying because there was like animatronic stuff on the ceiling, and Circus was my jam. But in that other time I went, I was turning 21. My parents were like, "Well, we'd like to get you this trip to go," and I was like, "What? That first of all, that's amazing. Thank you so much." And the other thing, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Who am I going to go with? And I had a buddy who could go, Brad, Big Bad Brad, made my cool design for I don't know why I had to square it up like the VAR here. But yeah, he made the logo there, but his birthday was in May, so I was like, can we just wait till May? And they're like, yeah, we set it all up to go around May. He hadn't been there. I went once when I was 5, so we were like, okay, let's do this. Let's party in Vegas. We get there. Go to Harrah's. That's where we were staying, right on the strip. And my parents had their room, and me and Brad had ours. We kind of, put away some stuff. So what are we gonna do? And I'm like, we're 21. I'm in Vegas. It wasn't legal at the time, but I'm like, man, I gotta get some weed, right? Like that's a thing, right? So Yeah, I walked around. Didn't really have a game plan. I'm like, maybe if I'm sure we'll just recognize them. That's my logic going in. We'll just walk the strip. I don't recommend this in any way either, but just walk the strip looking for someone. Kind of get my Squintin Tarantino on, trying to see who I can see that could help us, and see this guy, backwards cap, bigger, darker fella. I was like, that's him. So I nod, pulls aside. We just kind of start chilling, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, man? What do you need?" And I was like, "Can you help me out?" And he's like, "Yeah. What do you need?" And I was like, "Just some green, because lingo's different everywhere you go. Small town Saskatchewan probably talks a little different than Las Vegas, but I don't know. We ended up getting to the same place. He said, "All right, well, you just give me your money, and we'll get a guy." And before he's even done talking, Brad's like, "I don't know, man. I don't know about this guy." And like, I don't know if you just give him your money. And he's like, What's your friend doing? What's your friend doing? I'm like, Brad, it's okay. Let's figure this out. So I give the buddy him money, give this guy money. He's like, all right, cool. And he just walks off. And he said I walk down the street, I'd see the guy and just shake his hand and he'd give it to me. So I just walk down the street, see a guy. I don't know if this guy like told him, big redhead guy or what, but he sees me. We do the thing. He shakes it. I get it. We go up to the room, look at him, like, oh man, awesome. But I'm like, I don't know. I can't roll. I can rock, but I can't roll. So we end up like we'll find a little market or something. You gotta get a little. I wasn't gonna go all out and go a full glass or anything. Just get something, a disposable. So yeah, we walked as we're heading to the market. Me and Brad, it's hot out, right? Like it's May in Vegas. It's cooking, and then you have those guys hitting the cards. They're hitting the cards with all the escorts on them. Me and Brad, we tried to collect them to see who'd get the bigger stack of these nasty things. They're just cards like call here, and they have the stars that cover their privates with the stars like slightly off. I don't know who did the editing on the cards, but it doesn't really line up. Anywho, cards were collected, but we get to this market, get a little pipe, boom, that's what we'll take. Go up. Probably shouldn't have, but tried it in the hotel room. Why not? You have a hot shower going, it takes care of it. Again, don't recommend this at all. So yeah, that was had the green. He said I can get a hold of him anytime. We continued our Vegas trip. We did some partying. Like my dad, right, may he rest in peace. He liked to indulge. So Brad, not so much. So me and my dad, we'd hit that. Went with my parents to Hoover Dam. A little toasted, and it was toasty out. It was like 40 degrees. My mom had the cloth on her. She's ginger too. We cook out there. We were burning. The Vegas heat ate us alive. But yeah, we're dabbing the cloth on us like, oh, like we're down south or something. But it was really cool. And we went to the gun store, right? You drop $50, you can shoot whatever. This was like probably 7, 8 years after 9/11, I guess. So the targets they gave us to shoot at may not be PC. Like, I was like, what? Okay, I guess I'll pick that one, like a hostage holding a woman. And you're like, okay. And they're like, what do you want? I said, AK-47, I guess. And he's like, well, we're going to have to hang your target upside down. So when you go for the headshots, like, the AK-47, when you shoot it, it kind of jumps, it rises up, right? So what they did was when they have the target regular, people go for the headshot and they'd be shooting the hell out of the ceiling. So he's like, do you mind if we just put upside down? You can. I'm like, whatever. He's like, have you ever shot a gun? And I'm like, a pellet gun? He's like, close enough. So yeah, Vegas was different in itself altogether. But there was a night coming up. There was like, what was it? The Jet nightclub, I believe, in the Mirage. Or it was supposed to be cool. We heard Chris Angel had gone there. We were hoping to get mind freaked or something, I guess. But excuse me. So, we were hanging out and pre-drinking, getting ready, and I thought, well, we're in Vegas. I'll get a hold of Buddy. We might need some party enhancers, I guess you can call it. Again, I don't condone this. It's 21 years old. Different mindset, but get a hold of Buddy and say, can you meet me? I need 2 grams, I guess, of some of your Colombian gold. So he said, yeah, I can get you. So Me and Brad wait in line. We're waiting in line forever. We probably waited close to 2 hours with a slow moving line. 21-year-old guys just wanting the party, I guess. Spread our wings from Saskatchewan to Nevada. And finally, we're getting close to the door. I'm getting nervous. I'm like, where is this guy? Like, what the fuck? And then he texts me. He's like, I'm outside. So I run outside as fast as I can. Like, hold the fort, Brad. We're almost near the door. Like, we're about to get in here. Like, we're almost there. So I run out there. I see him. I already got a buzz going. I give him a big hug. He gives it to me. He's like, man, you're crazy. Shake his hand. I get the stuff. Give him the money. All good. I'm like, I gotta go though. And you come in? He's like, no, I'm good. I don't think you want the party with us. Probably got other stuff to do. So I run back in. We're probably like, I don't know, 6, 7 people away. Get back in. I'm like, yes, we're good. I'm like, whoa, sweaty, heavy, short run, hot. Get back there. We go in. You can hear the music bumping. Go to the bar. I think it was $9 or $10 for a beer, and it was like one of the aluminum Budweiser bottles. I'm like, ooh, cool, aluminum. We have glass where I'm from, but a real ladies' man. And one of the first things I do, I look at the bouncer. I'm like, hey, bro, like, where's the bathroom? Totally dumb, not good. So I go to the bathroom. I actually had to go. There was two things I was gonna do on this mission. So I go down. Go to do my thing, sit on the toilet, and there's like this huge like tray next to the toilet, and I was like, okay, Vegas, they know what's up. So I put out this huge thing of product, right, and which I don't condone, right. 21-year-old Rennie was a lot different. 15 years ago, 15 years ago, that hurts to say, but that was a long time ago, I guess. But anyway, this is all out. I demolish it with my nasal cavity, and yeah, I was like, holy Jesus, what have I done? Again, I don't condone it. This was from a stranger in another country, in a bar, and yeah, so after that, I'm like, holy Jesus, I clean up, go to wash my hands, and I feel like a tap on my shoulder. I was like, oh, what the? And, before I even turn around, they're like, we saw what you did in there, step through this door, and I was like, oh God. So I open the door. It's like a lit hallway, right? So you're going from a darker bathroom into like a lit corridor, like a hotel corridor. And these two big bouncers are looking at me. He's like shaking. My eyes are like, I don't even think I could read. They might have been that big. I don't know if I can do that again, probably get that big, but they might have been that big. Like I was like feeling what I had just done, and I was freaking, and they're like, we saw what you did in there. So I don't know. I doubt he was looking through the keyhole like Norman Bates style. I think he was looking up. He was a pretty tall dude. I was obviously in my own thing. I did not see anybody watching. So we got through there, like we saw what you did in there, and I was like, oh, I saw the tray, and, just mumbling nonsense. And they're like, well, how much do you have on you? And I was like, 1 and some gram, because I just did and I'm just shaking, giving. They're like, oh man, that's a lot. We're gonna have to get the police here. And I was like, oh no, like I'm here with my parents. No, and they're like, well, they're kind of talking. I pull out $60 American. I'm like, this is all I have. Just please let me go. I'm here with my parents. My buddy's inside. I fucking won't. I'll call him. I'm gone. So they mumble, take my money, took my product, kind of grabbed me, brought me to the door. He just told me to get the fuck out. And I was like, whoa, this kind of sucks, but this is also like a win considering what happened. And again, I'm like, oh, because my heart's like, now, again, don't condone it. But yeah, it happened, and I was like, holy shit. And yeah, I got called Brad. He's like, man, what's going on there? Where are you? And I'm like, yeah, I was thrown out. He's like, what? Like, you go to shit, suddenly you're thrown out. Yeah, it's a weird scenario. But yeah, I said, just stay in there, man. Have a good time. It took forever to get in there. It's Vegas. I'm sure I'll find something to do. So I was like, yeah, we'll meet up at the hotel. And yeah, hung up, and I was still flying in this adrenaline. So I just undid my buttons to about here, let out the Persian rug a bit, let it fly out, and just walked up and down the strip. doing whatever until you know that wears off and you're like, I want more. And you're like, I'm not fucking getting any more of that. So you just drank heavy because you're 21 and dumb and felt like absolute garbage the next day. But lesson learned. Don't don't go that route. If you are, don't ask a bouncer where to do it, basically. Again, don't recommend that. But yeah, I'd love to go back to Vegas. They're having the F1 this year, first time. But yeah, that's my story and sport talk for today on Sports and Shorts of Sorts. Thank you for joining me. We'll see where we go next year. Next year, next week. We're not taking that big of a break. But yeah, keep those brackets going, drop those bets, see how you do. Like anyone could win this. We'll see what happens. But again, thanks for joining me. I look forward to doing this next week and maybe next year, but we'll start with next week. Thanks again, guys. Ren City out.